Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's October 5th, 2016. Later today, the NL wildcard game, the single game playoff. Whoever wins between the Giants and Mets will advance to the next round of the MLB playoffs. The Giants are traveling to New York City. The Mets last year appeared in the 111th World Series. You might recall in spring training last year, I predicted the Mets would be in that World Series because New York equals 111. It was the 111th World Series. The final game was played on November 1st, 11/1. Matt Harvey was on the mound for the Mets. His 111th pitch is what knocked in the first run of the game for the Royals. The man who made the hit that brought in the first RBI that ended up ending the game. He had a 111 batting average. Professional sports are scripted, and if you have enough information, you can read the script ahead of time. You can see who's going to win. Go back and see last year how I predicted that the Mets would win 3-9, the only game that they won in the World Series. New York, the big way equals 111, the small way 39, thus the single win 3-9 in the 111th World Series. Yesterday in the AL wild card, we were watching to see what would happen with the number 74. And just before we get to this NL wild card, in case you missed the video I put out last night, I'll link it in the description. But just to give you a small taste of what I showed, if last night the Toronto Blue Jays were to win, which they did go on to do, they were going to become 7-4 at home for the season against the Orioles. They did that. They became 7-4 on the season. The walk-off home run was hit by Edwin Encarnacion, named gematria of 74, just like walk-off, just like wild card. It was a walk-off to win the wild card game that was a major tribute to Joe Carter's 93 World Series walk-off home run. I'll link that video in the description. There's way more to this story, but the point is the number 74 was in effect. Tonight's the wild card in New York City that's on the 74th meridian. And if Madison Bumgarner loses tonight, he's going to be 7-4 all time in the playoffs. Noah Syndergaard, if he wins tonight, will be 3-1. Let's talk about why this is interesting and why I expect the Mets to win with those things happening. Bumgarner getting his loss, becoming 7-4 in New York, and Noah getting the win. Today's date, October 5th, 2016, it's a date with 51 numerology. New York Mets equals 51, conspiracy 51. It's 5/10, as most people write the date, 5-1-0, that 5-1 sequence is in there. Syndergaard, who's starting, is 24 years old. Today's date has 24 numerology. It's also a date with 31 numerology. 31's the 11th prime. Last night we saw number 31 give up the winning home run. With regards to 31 being the 11th prime, New York's the 11th state. If the Mets win, they'll be 3-1 at home this year against the Giants. In terms of the team name gematria, nothing stands out too much about today's game. At least not that I'm catching. We'll talk about how Madison Bumgarner syncs up with San Francisco Giants. Here's the Giants and Mets games against each other this year. Most recently, the Mets have won 2-0, 9-5. Can they win their third game in a row tonight? Their last two wins were in San Francisco. Tonight, they get to play in their home field. So Madison Bumgarner, he's considered one of the best playoff pitchers ever. The other year when the Giants won the World Series, he had an amazing string of appearances, showing that he had endless endurance. That's the one thing I respect about these professional athletes is how they keep their arms in shape. As someone who was an athlete for many years, a good throwing arm, my shoulder gave out around the time I turned 30. Some of these athletes who throw for so long, it just blows my mind how they keep their shoulders healthy. Anyhow, Madison Bumgarner, his full name in gematria sums to 227. That special number connected to circles and cycles and pi. If you divide 22 by 7, you get the number for pi. This is a special number to the occult that they code into things of significance, such as this World Series MVP pitcher, Madison Bumgarner. The name he goes by in gematria also sums to 75, like San Francisco Giants. World Series has gematria 57, 66, 75, also 147. But I'm just showing this in regards to his name. You know, the other year he was the MVP of the World Series for San Francisco. That World Series was also won exactly 66 days after the San Francisco earthquake that was the worst since the 89 World Series quake, the Bay Area quake between San Francisco and Oakland. That earthquake was not a coincidence. It's the only earthquake to ever be captured on live TV. The people who run this world, they're a lot sicker than just rigging sports. These people have truly planted explosives in the ground along fault lines to trigger earthquakes. This is a nation that had an underground nuclear weapons testing program for decades, and this is what they did with all this taxpayer money. They've planted bombs all over this nation along fault lines to trigger earthquakes as rituals. A lot of earthquakes are synced up with professional sports. See what I showed about the Oklahoma upset game in week 1 of college football. The 5.6 earthquake. Oklahoma got upset with a sum of 56 points. Sam Bradford went to Minnesota that day. Sam Bradford equals 56, former Heisman winner at Oklahoma. For those of you who think I'm crazy, it's just because you're ignorant and you don't recognize that you're governed over by crazy, insane people who I'm exposing. What you are is their little playthings, their little minions, the little worthless fucking losers that they've created. Sorry for you truth seekers. I'm just talking to the filth that might be watching right now, because they always are watching. So Noah Syndergaard, who he's going up against, today's game comes 37 days after his birthday. 37 days, playoffs equals 37. Wild card, first game of the playoffs. It also comes a span of 38 days from his birthday. Noah equals 38, his first name. It's interesting that their full names sum to 92 and 89. Bumgarner's born in the year 89, and Noah's born in the year 92. You know, that might be a coincidence. I just think it's interesting. They're going up against each other in this wild card game, which is scripted. Think about how the Giants are originally from New York. This is almost like a New York versus New York series. San Francisco Giants used to be in New York City, just like the Dodgers. There used to be 4 New York teams in baseball. Again, New York on the 74th meridian, that wild card number, the number that came up huge last night. Here's Bumgarner's career pitching record. 7 wins, 3 losses total. If he loses tonight, he'll be 7-4, and that seems to be the ritual that's in effect. There's always parallels between this game. If I get it wrong, it's because I'm overlooking the 74 connection. Maybe I should have done more homework on the managers, you know? That's something you can do. For those of you who just come and take my advice and go bet on it right away, you know, do more homework. I only have so much time. People are begging for this video. It's why I'm putting it out. There's more that can be researched, though, to shore up your bet if you're going to put money on this. Syndergaard, he's 2-1 in the playoffs. If he wins tonight, he'll be 3-1. I expect that to happen. Down in the description, though, watch what I revealed all about last night's home run, the big tribute to Joe Carter. Your professional sports are so scripted. This shot came 95 days before his birthday from the man who hit it. The 33-year-old, Baltimore 95, Blue Jays 95, Joe Carter 95. He hit a home run earlier this season against the Orioles on June 10th. He hit that exactly 117 days before yesterday's. Toronto 117, his name 117, the full name. Your sports are scripted, and by the end of tonight, I'll have another video getting to show you how the NL wildcard was scripted. Sometimes my predictions are off. I think this one's going to be right, though, because not only is it about what I just showed you, I documented something a couple weeks back after the Cubs clinched with their 93rd win, and I said their clinch is pointing to New York. Whoever wins this game plays the Cubs. And when the Cubs clinched, they had something pointing to New York. So Mets, Cubs, I expect that to be the next series. I expected the Mets and Cubs to meet in the playoffs. That will only happen if they advance over the Giants tonight. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.